Hello and welcome. My name is Okwemi Olubemi, your host with this esteemed program, Table Talk. Whether you're looking forward to growing your income as a 9 to 5 or you're a creative looking forward to secure your financial future and you want to stick around, I'm here with a very good guest. Can you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
My name is Brendan B. Michael.
Brendan B. Michael. Yes, he's a financial advisor. Yeah, he's so passionate about teaching people how to invest wisely. Yeah, so let's get on to the conversation. What do you think about investments? Should people really prioritize investing wisely, especially this period? But Ponzi scheme is the modus operandi.
Well, I've always told people who who want to listen to me that Ponzi scheme is not the way to go. A lot of people have had experience where they lost money at some point, and I don't think Nigerians are really ready to learn from their mistakes. So Ponzi is not the way to go. Investment is the in thing. I posted on my blog some years back, about 5 years ago, where I talk about investments. In that post, I think the title of the post was Cast Your Bread Upon the Waters.
Cast your bread upon the
So, and of course, this is biblical.
Yeah.
So if you check the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verses 1 and 2, you find it there. It says, cast your bread upon the water, for thou shalt find it after many days. So that verse is talking about investment, strictly investment. If you look at the second verse, where it talks about, you giving a portion to 7 and another to 8, because you don't know what day or what evil might come upon the earth.
Yeah.
You understand? So it means you diversifying your investments, having several investment options. That's what the verse 2 is talking about. So I've always been advising people on how to invest or how wisely one can invest. So talking about investment now, there are a number of options that are available, especially in this country, even the world over. Now let's take it locally now. We have shares.
Yeah.
You can buy into equity shares, for example. You understand? And you get your dividends.
Equity shares. So many people don't know what shares is all about. Giving equity shares. So we need to expound on this for the sake of our viewers.
Okay. When we talk about shares, we are talking about you owning a unit of a company.
Like
You understand?
MTN, Apple.
Like Apple, yeah, MTN, and what have you. Even Dangote, you can own a unit of that company. So that's what we call equity share. Now, there's also what we call preference share. You understand? Preference share has, just like the word says, preference. It has preference over equity shares.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between the two, both of them are shares. The difference between the two is that one is preferred over the other. While you can own a unit of a company as a shareholder, in preference shareholding, you're only giving your money to make it work for you. You don't own a unit of the company. And in other words, you don't have a voting right. You understand? But in equity shareholding, you have a voting right. You can sit at the meetings, you can take decisions with other shareholders.
Yeah.
You understand? But preference shares, you're only, lending out your money to them to use it to work for you. So that's just about shares. And you can, of course, trade shares with PDMMs. We call them private dealers, market makers. They are banks, they are authorized banks.
Yeah.
So you can make use of them. Now, let's move from shares to bond. You can invest in bond, for example. Government need money from time to time to finance their budget deficits. So they will need money from the public.
Yeah.
So how do they do that? They use the DMOs, that is the Debt Management Office. Of course, DMOs would appoint the PDMs to help them collect the money on their behalf. So they use this money to fund their projects, fund budget deficit and what have you. So, of course, bond is, I really prefer bond because it has a higher interest over preference shares and, equity shares. So, but this is traded monthly, unlike equity shares or maybe preference shares that you can buy on the floor stock exchange, on daily basis. So, but for bond, it's on monthly basis, and it's on an auction. You understand? Yeah. An auction through CSCS, um, and NGX, Nigerian Exchange Group, and there's another one. There are three. You understand? So you can buy these stocks from them. These equities, these securities. That's what it's called. Buy the securities from them, and make money on a yearly basis. Now, let's move from bond to let's talk about treasury bills, for example. Yeah. Treasury bills is also floated by the government. It's a short-term security. Yeah. Governments also use it to fund, maybe short-term projects or even medium-term projects. You understand? So it is traded. It has a tenor of 200 and it has a tenor of 1 year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1 year or less for treasury bills. You can buy into it. It's also traded. You can buy from the primary market or the secondary market, just like the bond. So from the primary market, you can buy from CBN, you understand, through their appointed dealer banks. From the secondary market, of course, the PDMMs can get it to buy from them. So that's for treasury bills. Now let's move to, there are a lot of them. So
I would even like to ask that, how do we know which ones we're investing, like investing wisely, properly, so that we don't at the end of the day use our monies? Okay. It's not all shares that we're supposed to like put our monies. Sometimes that shares we include like the stock will be and all of that. So how do we invest wisely?
Well, there are periods, bearish period and bullish period. And the only way to know all these things is by you researching. This is the era of internet of things, where you can pick up your phone and do some research. You understand? So I would advise, before you delve into any investment at all, just make a little research here and there. You understand? So and get to study the Nigerian Stock Exchange as well. So I wouldn't recommend. I don't know whether this program, or platform allows me to do that.
You can recommend
to so I know I wouldn't do that. Maybe for another time, but not for today. But I actually have a list of companies that one can invest in. So do your research. List of companies, floated by Nigerian Stock Exchange, or study history, study the market, and the trend of things. There are some companies that have weathered the storm over the years, and are still doing good, even till date. Can check out their products, invest in them and see how it goes.
So for people that don't really have that bulk of the money to put into shares, when people hear shares, they hear stocks, they hear bonds, they are thinking, oh, they need millions of naira or hundreds of thousands to do that. So it's that in the case of people like that they are only giving like 250,000, 5,000, and they are looking forward to invest their monies with the little income that we have. Like, but which platforms, what should they look out for? Like, how should they invest?
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, you should be aware that there are some companies that are not even traded on, listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Because they have not met some requirements, So such companies, we call them OTC companies, over the counter. And just pick them up. You buy some small stocks from them. You don't have to spend up to 200,000. As little as 50,000. You can buy stuff from these companies. So just research it. Go to the internet, go to Google, search them out. You see them. There are some PDMMs that are approved, licensed by the CBN, that float these stocks. You understand? These shares. Stanbic IBTC is one of them. You understand? So you can walk into any Stanbic IBTC branch and ask for those companies, OTC companies.
So there are some companies that parade themselves as real. For example, like recently, some people fell trap to a particular company. They even had offices in Lagos. They had offices in Ibadan. They have some offices in different places, and they were able to lure people for maybe a year or two, maybe to invest their monies, and then they probably maybe a high trading of some sort. And people were lured, and they lost a whole lot of money. For people like to avoid that kind of instances from repeating itself, how should people like identify like all these wolves in sheep's clothing?
It's very easy to identify. One, if you find a company that does not have a product,
The product
doesn't sell a product, it's a red flag.
But everything is online.
That's number one. Number two, a company that promises you huge sum of money with little investment. You understand?
Yeah.
So how do they intend to go about that? How do they intend to pay me millions for my 100,000 naira investment? It's not possible. So we should know that they are there for your money. So those are the 2 points. Another thing is that, you see, I'm sure you were afraid to mention the name. Sindex has done a lot of evil.
Some people have even been arrested.
Yes. I'm even aware that some people sold their property
Yeah,
to invest in Sindex.
Able to like trick people.
Yes. These people, of course, they are tech savvy. So because of what they know, they have a way of talking to people and making them do what they want them to do. You understand? So if you are not very careful, you might fall into their hands, into their trap. So you should be very careful. Another thing is that before CBS came, another scheme came to Nigeria. That was MMM. I think MMM came in 2015.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 2015 to 2016. So you should always watch out. After CBS, another company will still come out. Mm-hmm. Give them 3-4 years, you see them again. So,
and pretty people will still have learned their lessons.
People will still not learn their lessons. Uh-huh. So, but I'll keep talking to people who want to listen to me. That these people, they are not real. So that's how it is.
So I would like to ask a personal question. In your investment journey, have you ever encountered any loss? Like, what have you learned in your investment journey so far?
Okay. Yes, I have encountered challenges, and that's how it is. Business is just like that. Mm-hmm. You have to weather some storms. Yeah. And if you have a business and you are able to thrive in that business for like 3 to 5 years, I don't think you should relax. I think you should keep moving on. You understand? Yeah. Because usually 5 years is the time when people who are into business weather certain storms, especially in this line that we are in. Nigeria. Nigeria is stormy. If you're not talking about light issues, you'll be talking about capital issue. There's no money. You understand? So, but the market is there. So just take advantage of the market. There are people to buy the product. So we just need resilient entrepreneurs, who would, go all out and do everything that they can to make sure that they put food on their table. You understand? So that's how it is. You always encounter issues or challenges here and there.
Lastly, as a financial advisor, what's one thing that you think you thought you could have learned before now? Or people that come to you for financial advice, what do you think you could impart to them?
I really felt that I could have started my business maybe earlier. Yes. Earlier. Yes. The earlier the better. Because the more experience you have, the better you become in it. You understand? So what I did was that after my school days, I went into paid employment, but while I was doing that paid employment, I wasn't satisfied. At some point I felt, man, I need to really go into my own business, invest in my own thing. So that is the only regret I have. I should have started earlier. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
And this has been incredibly eye-opening. And if you have friends that need to hear about this conversation, please forward this video to them straight up. Don't wait. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the end. We look forward to see you on the next episode. I remain your host, Bemi Han, our guest,
Brandon B. Michael.
Yeah, see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.